Welcome back, guys. And as the sun comes up over New Hampshire, voting is already underway in many places. In fact, most places. In fact, this place where I'm standing, voters are checking in right there, and they are casting their votes behind me, behind those curtains with Lady Liberty. This is the 100th year of New Hampshire's First in the Nation primary, and Ed O'Keefe is joining me to talk about how that tradition began and why it may be under threat.
Yeah, good morning, Tony. Good morning, everyone. This is so high stakes because in the last 40 years, nobody has gotten to the White House without winning either, or actually only one president has gotten to the White House without winning either Iowa or New Hampshire. And after that app mishap in Iowa last week, there are now many people wondering whether that state and this state should take their first in the nation status for granted. New Hampshire voters don't just make presidents, they like to meet them.
Most Americans never get to see a president of the United States in person, but in New Hampshire, they're spoiled.
Spoiled with all the selfies took, hands shook, bumped fists, and babies kissed.
We'll switch to Walter Cronkite.
All right, let's take a look at our returns.
It's a century-old tradition.
New Hampshire voters use every bit of Yankee ingenuity to get to the polls. One well-known dog sled racer offered voters a sledding taxi service.
But in a recent editorial, the Boston Globe argued it's time to kill the tradition, pointing out Iowa and New Hampshire more resemble 19th century America than the more diverse country today.
It is more diverse than people realize.
We're rooted in small-town democracy. We do town meetings.
And New Hampshire has a state law requiring it to hold the first presidential primary.
Good evening. The first ballots of campaign 76.
The New Hampshire primary gained national prominence in the 1970s.
I guess you really are the front runner, aren't you?
Well, I guess so.
Ronald Reagan was more confident as he confronted the moderator at a 1980 debate his campaign funded.
You turn that microphone off, please.
I am paid for this microphone.
Democratic Senator Gary Hart was on target with his axe in '84, but missed the mark 3 years later when asked to explain why he spent a night with a Miami model on a yacht named Monkey Business.
I do not have to answer that question.
The question was, have you ever committed adultery? And Gary Hart never really answered it.
This answer helped end Bob Dole's '88 campaign.
And Senator Dole, is there anything you'd like to say to the Vice President?
Yeah, stop lying about my record.
George Bush won that year's primary by pulling out the tiny guns.
That weapon can kill the pilot of an airplane.
When Pat Buchanan crashed the party with an upset in '96, he warned Washington.
They're coming. All the peasants are coming with pitchforks after them.
Gary Bauer's candidacy was a flop after he fell off the stage flipping pancakes. And after his polls plummeted, Bill Clinton asked New Hampshire to make him the comeback kid.
I'll never forget who gave me a second chance, and I'll be there for you till the last dog dies.
Clinton didn't win that primary, but he did come back to campaign for his wife Hillary against Barack Obama.
He's very likable. I agree with that.
You're likable enough,
Thank
Hillary,
you so much.
On the eve of the primary, Clinton had a rare show of emotion.
I just don't want to see us fall backwards.
She went on to win New Hampshire, but not the nomination, and 8 years later fell short to Bernie Sanders here.
Thank you, New Hampshire.
We'll find out tonight if Bernie Sanders becomes the first non-president to win back-to-back primaries here in New Hampshire. And Tony, a little bit of trivia for you. The only person to win a New Hampshire primary 3 times in the modern era, Richard Nixon.
That is a fun fact, because he ran, did not get the nomination, did not win, and then ran for president and was reelected.
That's right.
3 times.
Yeah.
Gayle and Anthony, I've got a little bit more trivia for you. New Hampshire has been so decisive, it in fact knocked an incumbent president out in 1968. Lyndon Johnson finished second here in New Hampshire, decided, you know what, America, 1 term is enough for me. Will President Trump take a similar path? Don't count on it.
Can you name who beat him? Who beat Lyndon Johnson?
I want to say McGovern.
I think it was Eugene McCarthy, but I have to look it up.
You're right. You are right. That is right. You jogged my memory.
I loved Ed's piece. That was great. That was really great.
I'd forgotten about Gary Powers flipping back pancakes and falling over backwards. That was a great moment.
I had never seen that before.
Okay.
Politics.
Thank you, guys.